Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Mr. Prabhupada Sabhadara Jikacharya, Stodes at the Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Mr. Prabhupada Sabhadara Jikacharya, Stodes at the Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki. Go Premanandi! We'll be chanting a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 1, Text 84. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodita Gododaya Pushpavanto Chittao Sandao Tamo Nudo Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododaya Pushpavanto Chittao Sandao Tamo Nudo Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododaya Pushpavanto Chitta Shando Tamo Nudo. Vaishnavis, Bande, I offer respectful obeisances. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda, and to Lord Nityananda, Saha Udito, simultaneously arisen, Goda Udaye, on the eastern horizon of Goda, Pushpavanto, the sun and moon together, Chitro, wonderful, Hamdo, bestowing benediction, Tama Nudo, dissipating darkness. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As you've noted, there's no purport to this verse, but we'll be reading from some sections of Srila Prabhupada during the course of this discussion. As I like to do every year, I like to remind myself and everyone of the more than intimate relationship between Gauranga and Nitai. How they are such a team, how they are so closely connected. You may recall from Adi Lila Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita what happened to the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who evidently had appreciation for Gauranga, but he slighted Lord Nityananda. He didn't understand him. He didn't consider Nityananda to be worthy of his respect. And this was borne out in the treatment of Miniketana Ramdas, who was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. He came to the home of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Overflowing with ecstatic love. But the priest, worshiping the deity, Gunarvanava Mishra, didn't show respect to Miniketana Ramdas. He didn't bow down as everyone else did. So it's very interesting that Miniketana Ramdas took this as an insult, not to himself. He didn't take it as a lack of respect for himself. He took it as disrespect for Lord Nityananda, because Lord Nityananda was his master. So later that night, after everyone had gone away, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes, I tried to talk to my brother and explain to him, it is better that you disbelieve in both brothers than to favor one and slight the other. Better just disregard both of them. That night, Kaviraj Goswami had a dream of Lord Nityananda, who was obviously pleased by Krishnadas Kaviraj's defense of him. And Lord Nityananda told him, go to Vrindavan, there you'll find all success. There you'll find everything you need. How closely related are these two, Gauranga and Nitai? We sing Parama Karuna Pahundwijana Nitai Gaurachandra. Sabha Avatar Sar Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. They're the essence of all incarnations. Therefore we're urged, Bhaja Bhaja Bhai, Chaitanya Nitai. We glorify, we focus on both of them. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are so many verses which describe how these two interrelate. I'll just read you a few of them so you can become enlivened by meditating on the dynamics of the close relationship. Because after all, how close is Balaram to Krishna? Sometimes it is said that the only difference between Balaram and Krishna is that Krishna is blackish blue and Balaram is whitish. Krishna likes to wear yellow cloth, Balaram likes to wear blue cloth. That's the only difference between Swayam Rupa and Swayam Prakash. That same closeness is there with Gauranga and Nitai. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, here are just some of a few things that he says. Only by Lord Nityananda's mercy can we know the truth about Lord Chaitanya. In fact, the glories of Lord Chaitanya are manifested through him. Day and night, Lord Nityananda chants the glories of Lord Chaitanya. So when one worships Nityananda, he certainly attains devotion for Lord Chaitanya. All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is the first manifestation of Lord Chaitanya. The glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest by his mercy. Lord Nityananda is Lord Chaitanya's greatest devotee. No one can attain Lord Chaitanya. Actually, it's now the reverse. Let me correct that. Lord Nityananda is Lord Chaitanya's greatest devotee. No one can attain Nityananda without Lord Chaitanya's sanction. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that unless Mahaprabhu reveals Nityananda Prabhu to a living entity, no one is able to attain his lotus feet. One becomes attached to Nityananda by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, and one who knows Nityananda never faces any adversities. So it's going back and forth. You may think, who comes first, Gauranga or Nityananda? They're so closely combined in their distribution of mercy upon the conditioned souls. Let's hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is especially important for us because Prabhupada in the purports gives so many instructions for spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. And there are so many purports where Srila Prabhupada emphasizes distributing Krishna consciousness without restriction in every town and village. Again and again, he mentions this is the order that comes from a bona fide spiritual master through parampara. Every town and village without restriction, without reservation. This is very important. Our plans for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness should always be expansive. There's so many parts of the world that have not attained Krishna Bhakti. Even in developed countries, so many cities, so many regions. USA, Europe, here, there, Asia, everywhere. There are huge countries devoid of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So on this appearance day of Lord Nityananda, let us meditate deeply on the desire of the parampara that everywhere, all peoples get a chance to hear about Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. Interestingly, Lord Nityananda did not display his door-to-door campaign for distributing bhakti until Lord Chaitanya finished his scholastic pastimes in Navadvip. Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us, Lord Nityananda traveled throughout the forests of Vrindavan until Lord Gaurachandra displayed his opulences. This is Lord Nityananda's humility and his demonstrating proper Vaishnava etiquette. Until Gauranga manifests his mercy, his preaching pastimes, Nityananda did not. This is real humility based on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda is waiting for the right moment. He's not going to push himself forward until his master, Mahaprabhu, begins his distribution of ecstatic love. When Mahaprabhu went to South India, he demonstrated what he did not demonstrate in Navadvip. We'll talk more about that later, though. How Srila Prabhupada commented on favorable and so-called unfavorable preaching situations, and how when the people are the most fallen, that gives the greatest opportunity for service. We'll also speak a little bit about personal attainment of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, because Nityananda Prabhu is very important for that. In other words, celebrating Lord Nityananda's appearance day is something very personal for each one of us, and it is something that applies to the whole world. Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that the sun and the moon have arisen simultaneously. This is a very extraordinary metaphor. And Kaviraj Goswami uses the metaphor, the sun and the moon rising simultaneously, to point out the sun and the moon illuminate darkness, and they also reveal the clarity of your vision, what you can see properly. The darkness of ignorance that is dispelled by the sun and the moon of Gauranga and Nitai rising simultaneously. The darkness of ignorance is anything that deters transcendental loving service to Krishna. That's classified as the darkness of ignorance. And what is illuminated? The interior of the heart. The presence of the effect of the two Bhagavatas, Srimad Bhagavatam and the devotee. By the combination of those two Bhagavatas, loving devotional service to Krishna is established in the heart. So Kaviraj Goswami points out the first miracle is these two lords, like the sun and the moon, have appeared simultaneously. And the second miracle is how they illuminate the innermost depths of the heart, introducing the conditioned soul to the two Bhagavatas. Nityananda's appearance day is very personal for each one of us, because without that mercy, what is our hope of transcending material desires? As Narottam Das Thakur prays, Arkabe Nitai Chande Karuna Hoibe Samsara Vasana Mora Karbe Tucha Habe. In crying out to Gauranga, we need the mercy of Nityananda, who can render all our material desires insignificant. How insignificant is insignificant? It's like if you're walking along and a fly lands on your shoulder. You don't consider your whole life devastated. Insignificant. It happened, but it's insignificant. It doesn't affect your being. Similarly, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, material desires can fade to the point of being insignificant. And then there's the effect of Lord Nityananda on the whole world, because he received instruction from Mahaprabhu, distribute Krishna consciousness without restriction. First, as Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Mahaprabhu addressed Advaita Acharya, whose appearance day we celebrated just a few days ago. He told Advaita Acharya, distribute Krishna consciousness to everyone, even the lowest of persons, even chandalas, dog eaters. This is a very significant order. Don't neglect anyone as a potential audience for Krishna Bhakti. Why? Even to the dog eaters, the lowest. So Lord Chaitanya is indicating, from the top level, materially speaking, of society, the brahmanas, down to the lowest, the dog eaters, everyone should be reached with the Krishna consciousness movement. The flood of love of Krishna should saturate everywhere, all peoples. And then Mahaprabhu turns to Nityananda and says, go to Bengal, distribute Krishna consciousness without restriction. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes in those purports that without restriction means without restriction. Without determining who's a fit candidate, who's not a fit candidate, just give it out. And he emphasizes every town and village. I know one example pertaining to a very small country in the world, New Zealand. At the time they were communicating with Prabhupada, the population was 3.5 million. There are more people on a street corner in India than that whole country. So they were going to build a temple in the city. Actually, Prabhupada's first instruction for the first devotee who went there was, when you get there, don't build a temple in a city, get a farm and start Varnashram Dharma. Very interesting instruction. Of course, devotees couldn't understand that. Hare Krishna means a temple in the city with an ashram and you sleep on the floor. So devotees wanted to build a temple in the city, so they wrote Prabhupada, as everything happened back then. And he replied, and this city, the major city, population 1 million, he wrote back, why just one temple in one city? Every town in the country should have a temple. Do you know what a town in New Zealand is like in population? 2,000 persons max. just one example I'm aware of Srila Prabhupada's instruction and concern of this level of saturation for Krishna consciousness. This is something to be taken very seriously. Everywhere, everyone, without restriction. Later, after Mahaprabhu tells Nityananda, don't come to Jagannath Puri every year. That sounds like a punishment. But no, it's the order of Mahaprabhu to his subordinate Nityananda. Spread bhakti in Bengal. No need to come and see me every year. In other words, it's the order that is most important. This is what Srila Prabhupada stresses. Even if the order means don't go to the Dham, take that order upon your head. Don't think of your own self-satisfaction. So Mahaprabhu told Nityananda, don't come every year. Go to Bengal, distribute Krishna Bhakti. I'll give you assistance. You can do a task that even I can't do. Oh Shripad, oh holy man. What is that task? So Srila Prabhupada explains that Mahaprabhu, you could say, dealt with the class. Rupa and Sanatan, although considered spiritually fallen, were highly elevated, socially speaking. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the greatest scholar in India. Prakashananda Saraswati, the leader of thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis. This is whom Mahaprabhu dealt with. But he wanted to reach everyone. So he told Nityananda, you can do something even I can't do. And what was Nityananda's reply? You, my Lord, are the life, I am the body. Both the life and the body are necessary, but of the two, the life is more important. So was Lord Chaitanya sending Nityananda away? No, he's giving him the opportunity to get all the credit. So we find out in this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that this is the power of parampara. This is the message that Srila Prabhupada is stressing. By the empowerment of the parampara, the Vaishnava can do more than Vishnu. Nityananda delivered one set of Jagai and Madhais, but by the power of the parampara, thousands of Jagai and Madhais can be delivered. Krishna wants to see his devotee get the credit. This is why Krishna is provoking Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita to fight. Not because Krishna likes war, but because he wants Arjuna to take the credit, because everyone's already destined to die. Why not give the credit to the devotee? So you can look at Bhagavad Gita in that way. Krishna provoking Arjuna so that Arjuna gets the credit. Thinking about personal indebtedness to Lord Nityananda. I was discussing with one sannyasi godbrother. Back in the early 70s, there was a television show nationwide in the USA called the David Susskind Show. This is back before the internet, before social media, back in the ancient prehistoric times when everyone watched the same news. And so that was the first time that he saw devotees, an hour-long show, but no reaction did he have. And the next time he saw devotees with his friends, they hurled a stream of profanities. Now that same person is the sweetest kirtan leader and brought thousands of conditioned souls to Prabhupada's lotus feet. How do you explain this? You would think, there are devotees on television. How interesting, how wonderful. You would think that would be the reaction. No reaction. But I must confess, I was worse. I saw the same television show. What was my comment? Who are these aliens? Why are the ladies all covered up? Do they have a rash? So I and my friends listened to the message. We were what Lord Chaitanya, what Kaviraj Goswami describes in 7th chapter of Adi Lila, Adam Paduya, lowest of the student community. Remember, Lord Chaitanya observed, there's certain persons I can't reach yet. The impersonalists, the blasphemers, and the lowest of the student community. So we were at the most elitist institution in the world, yet we were, by consciousness, totally devoid of any auspiciousness. So we listened to the lifestyle of a devotee. And I remember turning to my fellow students and saying, these people are fools. They have missed the goal of life. The devotees on the television show kept talking about Ananda, Ananda. That was the main preaching back then in the early 70s. You'll feel bliss, Ananda, Ananda. I learned the word very quickly. I said, they talk about Ananda. We'll invite them to one of our parties. We'll show them what Ananda is. 8 months later, I was in the Brahmacharya ashram. What happened? This is proof of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Lord Nityananda's mercy. His Holiness Bhakti True Maharaj, when he heard this story of this most insignificant fallen entity, he just blurted out spontaneously and then caught himself. He just, now I know anyone can be Krishna conscious. Oops. But Lord Nityananda's mercy goes even deeper than freeing the conditioned soul from the deepest clutches of Maya. We can look at the song Lala Samai by Narottam Das Thakur, and Prabhupada gives such a beautiful purport. We'll read it. So Narottam Das Thakur is giving us the direction, how one can reach the highest perfectional stage of associating with Radha and Krishna. The first thing is that one should be very much attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That will lead us, because he came to deliver the understanding of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one should first of all surrender to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By surrendering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu will be pleased. And by his pleasing, we shall be freed from material desires. And when material desires are no more, then we shall be able to enter Vrindavan. After entering Vrindavan, when we are eager to serve the 6 Goswamis, then we can reach the platform to understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Speaking about a very a most elevated subject matter which we can only hold above our head and aspire for. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains about the intimate relationship between the function of Nityananda and that of Srimati Radharani. You can recall that after the Hera Panchami festival, there was a huge kirtan amongst Lord Chaitanya and his associates. That kirtan was so intense that in the middle of the kirtan, Lord Chaitanya manifests as Srimati Radharani, and Nityananda notices this from a respectful distance as he offers prayers. So how does the relationship between Nityananda and Srimati Radharani function at the topmost level of spiritual advancement? We can hear this and pray one day we'll be there by pleasing our spiritual master. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, but Nityananda does not directly instruct us in the confidential servants. But Nityananda does not directly instruct in the confidential service of Krishna. Srimati Radhika is the guru of the inner circle of the servants of Krishna. Srimati Radhika, however, accepts the offer of service of only those souls who are especially favored by Nityananda and are deemed by him to be fit for her service. There is, therefore, a most intimate relationship between the function of Nityananda and that of Srimati Radhika. Even more confidentially, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur reveals that Nityananda, in his form as the younger sister of Radharani, Ananga Manjari, in that form Nityananda nourishes the Madhurya Ras. So, therefore, it's pointed out, this is why Narottam Das Thakur has said, Hina Nitai Vine Bhai Radha Krishna Paite Nai, Drita Kori Nitar Pai. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. And how do you catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda? Distribute Krishna consciousness without restriction to all peoples, every town and village. But you may respond, it's not easy giving Krishna bhakti. Often the situations are unfavorable. Now we get to the heart of this attempt at a presentation to glorify Lord Nityananda on his appearance day. An instruction from Srila Prabhupada about distributing Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda's mercy throughout the world. He says, you cannot expect a favorable situation. It is not possible. He describes himself. When I came to America, I never expected a favorable situation. I wrote that poetry. He's talking about Markine Bhagavat Dharma. Krishna, how will they ever understand? He said, I wrote that poetry in disappointment, thinking that, who will accept this? That was the position. By Krishna's grace, gradually it'll become a favorable situation. But don't expect, in other words, in the beginning, don't expect a favorable situation. You have to handle unfavorable situations and make them favorable for preaching. That is preaching. And he gives the example of Nityananda. Nityananda Prabhu, he went to preach to Jagai Madhai. There was no favorable situation. They were drunkards. They caused injury on the body of Nityananda Prabhu. So this is preaching in an unfavorable situation. You cannot expect favorable situation and still you have to preach. That is preaching. They'll speak like madmen, so many things. They're mad after all. No sense. All materialistic persons are madmen. Still, by the order of the superior, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to do this preaching work. So once again, the order is stressed. The order coming through parampara. If you think, in other words, the unfavorable situation is here, let me give it up. That is not preaching. Yes, we must know that there is unfavorable situation. Still, I have to preach. In other words, how you handle the unfavorable situation depends on your brain, how to tackle it, how to deal with it. You cannot expect a favorable situation. At this stage in the world's history, people think there has been great progress. Meanwhile, massive nuclear weapons, climate destruction, inner degradation are flooding the world. Although there's AI, artificial intelligence, where are the human beings with real intelligence? For example, just one of many, about the madness Srila Prabhupada describes. The whole world, by the grace of IT, is drowning in pornography. Studies have been done about the most impactful IT enterprises in the world. Number 1, Google. Number 2, Facebook or Meta. Number 3, I'll tell you later. Number 4, Microsoft. Number 5, Apple. But number 3 is an outfit called Pornhub. Most parents have no idea how their children are being destroyed by pornography. It's not, if you're over 40, you kind of miss the boat in terms of the way that degradation enters into the Kali Yuga atmosphere. I'll give you one example from the USA. Although this pornography problem, this degradation, this madness affects India, the whole world. A study has just come out showing that by the time a child in the USA reaches 13 years old, 54% of them have already seen pornography. By the time the child becomes 17 years old, 74% have already seen pornography. And 15% of all those between 13 and 17 years old admit that before they were 10 years old, they saw pornography. So how do you expect peace? How do you expect satisfaction? How do you expect happiness and contentment when the mind is so mad? So this is an unfavorable situation. Even in Bharat, the problem is there. So as Prabhupada says, you cannot expect a favorable situation. It's not possible, but by your preaching, you change an unfavorable situation to a favorable. But then he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita something that seems the opposite, the direct opposite. A verse from Madhya Lila. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest his spiritual potencies at Navadvip, but he did manifest them in South India and liberated all the people there. So in the purport, we'll read part of it. Prabhupada describes that Navadvip was full of smartas, persons whose main business is strictly following the Brahminical principles, but know nothing about devotional service and don't understand devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya, he writes, did not attempt to convert them. This is his purport. Therefore, the author has remarked that the spiritual potency Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest at Navadvip was by his grace manifested in South India. Thus, everyone there became a Vaishnava. By this, it is to be understood that people are really interested in preaching in a favorable situation. If the candidates for conversion are too disturbing, a preacher may not attempt to spread Krishna consciousness amongst them. It is better to go where the situation is more favorable. And then he writes about himself. This Krishna conscious movement was first attempted in India, but the people of India, being absorbed in political thoughts, did not take to it. They were entranced by the political leaders. We preferred, therefore, to come to the West, following the order of our spiritual master. And by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this movement is becoming successful. Of course, after Prabhupada went to the West, he thought, let me do something extra beyond what my spiritual master has ordered. Let me come back to India. And now you see the result of Srila Prabhupada's return to India. Notice, though, it's not that he ran away from an unfavorable preaching situation. He followed the order of his spiritual master who told him go to the West. So he used the unfavorable situation to motivate him, all right, let me go somewhere else according to the order of my guru. So these two sections seem contradictory. What to do? In Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami teaches us how to handle apparently contradictory statements in the Shastra. He says you don't cancel one out and think the other is authoritative. You take both of them together and try to reconcile both of them together. So what to do about this? You can't expect a favorable situation. It's not possible. And then go. It's natural to want to go where the situation's favorable. I see the reconciliation is the order of the Guru. Yes, Prabhupada at that time found the West more favorable, but that was the order of his Guru to go there. So that reconciled the situation. Finally, this is a very interesting lesson from Srila Prabhupada. And bear in mind, as we said, Chaitanya Charitamrita is especially full of instructions how to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere without restriction. Several times, devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, how will this Krishna conscious society be protected from disappearing? And both times he said, even if all the leaders disappear, all the temple presidents, all the GBCs, all the pujaris, if they all go away, because my books are everywhere, someone will read a book somewhere and know exactly how to restart the Hare Krishna movement. This is from a discussion in Vrindavan in 1974, where Prabhupada is stressing that because society is so fallen, outside of Varnashram Dharma, not fourth class is Shudras, but fifth and sixth class, because society is fallen, therefore there is good opportunity to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And again, he gives Nityananda as the example. So we read, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is to create canvassing, go everywhere. Amar Agya Guru Hoya Taro Edesh. In this canvassing instruction. He would send Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, send them to canvass. Please chant Hare Krishna. Please surrender to Krishna. So while Haridas Thakur, as Prabhupada describes it, everyone knows this famous pastime with Jagai and Madhai. There was a crowd gathered on the street. This is Prabhupada describing it. Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur saw the crowd and they asked, "Why is this crowd?" And the people explained, "Oh, there are these two brothers, Jagai and Madhai. They're so troublesome. They're drunkards, woman hunters, meat eaters. They always simply create trouble." So Nityananda Prabhu immediately decided, why not deliver these persons first? Then my Lord's name will be glorified. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name will be glorified. So Prabhupada explains, this is the business of the disciple. How to glorify the spiritual master. Parampara. I glorify my spiritual master, you glorify your spiritual master. If we simply do that, glorify, then Krishna is glorified. So he continues, this was the decision of Nityananda Prabhu. Why not deliver these fallen souls first? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation is to deliver the fallen. So Prabhupada explains, in this age there's no scarcity of fallen souls. Therefore my Guru Maharaj used to say that no gentleman can live here. The society is so polluted. But there is opportunity of serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because the society is so fallen, therefore there is good opportunity to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is like reverse thinking. You think because society is so fallen, there's no opportunity. Whereas Srila Prabhupada is saying because society is so fallen, there's a great opportunity to render service. This is real Vaishnava opportunism. So he concludes, this is Krishna's concern, to reclaim all these fallen souls. Therefore, this is the opportunity. One final point. Nityananda Prabhu's interactions with Advaita Acharya. You could say very controversial. They used to abuse one another like anything. You have a situation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead criticizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How, if you're an impersonalist, can you understand that? At the house of Srivas Thakur, Advaita Acharya was lamenting about something so intensely. So Mahaprabhu asked, what is it? What do you want? He said, I want to see the same universal form that Arjuna saw. So Mahaprabhu took him into the temple room of Srivas Thakur and shut the door and showed Advaita Acharya the Virat Rup. And Advaita Acharya falls on the floor with straw in his mouth begging, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? Meanwhile, Nityananda is roaming in Navadvip and he's omniscient. He knows my Lord is showing his universal form. Let me go there. So he goes to the house of Srivas Thakur and stands right outside the door to the temple room and starts roaring. Mahaprabhu opens the door and there is Nityananda face to face with Mahaprabhu showing in his Virat Rup, his universal form. Both Nityananda and Advaita Acharya are exclaiming in ecstasy. And Lord Chaitanya in his universal form is exhorting them, look, look, look. And Advaita Acharya and Nityananda are crying out, Prabhu, Prabhu, Prabhu. Then Lord Chaitanya resumes his normal form and goes back to his residence. and Nityananda and Advaita Acharya are rolling on the ground in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur in ecstasy. Then they get up, and one would sing and the other would dance and clap. That only lasted for a while. Then they started abusing one another. Advaita Acharya says to Nityananda, "Who invited you here? You broke into this house, you drunkard. You're so intoxicated. We don't know your caste. We don't know your classification, your situation of birth. We know nothing about you. What are you doing here? This Srivas Thakur, it's his house. He's just too liberal. He lets anyone come. And therefore you are here." What is Nityananda's response to all these insults? "You be quiet, I'm going to punch you." So they go on and on like this. It seems like they can't stand each other. It's so intense, this abuse by Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, that so many times in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur has to warn, don't take this in a material way. They're actually glorifying each other. Of course, Nityananda has no material birth. He has no material caste. Advaita Acharya will point out, "What kind of sannyasi are you?" Nityananda is Abhadut. He's not sannyasi. "You eat 3 times a day. No sannyasi does that." Nityananda will criticize him back. "You living with wife and children, what do you know?" This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead criticizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but actually they're glorifying each other because neither of the two have anything to do with the material energy. Of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is what happened when Nityananda and Advaita Acharya Mahaprabhu meet at the home of Advaita Acharya right after Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. So Advaita Acharya very carefully asks Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sit down for lunch. And Lord Chaitanya objects, "This is too much food. I can't eat all this." And Advaita Acharya urges him, "Look, we know who you are. In Jagannath Puri, you eat 54 times a day. Just sit down and take your lunch, please." But Nityananda sees the opposite. What is this tiny amount of food? It's not even enough to fill half my belly. I've been fasting for 3 days, and I hope to break my fast. Look at this tiny amount of food. Advaita Acharya pleads with him, "Look, I'm a householder. Please, just take what I have to offer." But again, Nityananda complains, "This is nothing. I can't break my fast." This time Advaita Acharya starts hurling abuse. "You're a reject Paramahansa." Nityananda says, "Whatever I am, but you're supposed to feed me. You invited me to your house." So then Nityananda, in apparent disgust, gets up, picks up some rice, and throws it on the floor in front of Advaita Acharya. And some of the grains happen to hit Advaita Acharya, who begins to dance in ecstasy. "I've been blessed by Nityananda. I've been blessed by Nityananda." Then Nityananda tells him, "You have disrespected Mahaprasad. Your penalty is invite 100 sannyasis for lunch." Advaita Acharya says, I'll never invite another sannyasi." And then after the Gundicha Mandir, more abuse. Advaita Acharya and Nityananda are sitting in line. They're sitting, waiting for prasad to be served, and they start criticizing one another. Same thing again. Nityananda, "Who are you? Who knows?" Advaita Acharya says, I'm endangering my caste by sitting next to you. Nityananda replies, you're a monist, you're an impersonalist. What will be the spiritual standing of anyone who associates with you? In this way, again, it looks like they despise one another, but actually they're glorifying one another. Nityananda is pointing out, by saying, you're an impersonalist, he's pointing out that by your presence, impersonalism is defeated. You're highlighting that by your presence. And Advaita Acharya is pointing out Nityananda has no material designation. So in this way, we have the Supreme Personality of Godhead criticizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, both Nityananda and Advaita Acharya show their subordination to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So on this appearance day of Nityananda Prabhu, we all should have our individual realization of how we are here by the mercy of Nityananda, as revealed by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let us not think we are here due to our own good qualities or our own pious background, whether you're from Bharat or from China or Mongolia or remote places like New Zealand, wherever you're from, it's only because of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya bringing about the mercy of Lord Nityananda, which brings about the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. This is the only reason why we are here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. What's our schedule? Do we have time for any questions? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.